Imagine your router has 4 Ethernet ports, but you need to connect 6, 8, or even 10 wired devices. Do you need a new router? Not necessarily. There is a much simpler solution, an Ethernet switch. And once you understand how a switch works, you will realize just how useful this small device can be. An Ethernet switch is basically a port multiplier for your wired network. You connect one Ethernet cable from your router to the switch, and suddenly, you have several more Ethernet ports ready for your devices. Think of your router as a power strip with only a few sockets. The switch is like adding another power strip, except instead of electricity, you are distributing network connections. For example, imagine your router is in the living room, but you want wired connections for a television, a gaming console, a desktop computer, and a streaming device. Your router may not have enough ports. Instead of replacing the router, you can connect one cable from the router to a switch. Then connect your television, console, computer, and streaming device directly to the switch. That's it. For most homes, you want an unmanaged Ethernet switch. And don't let the technical name scare you. An unmanaged switch is designed to be plug and play. You normally don't need to log in. You don't need to configure complicated settings. And you don't need to assign network addresses manually. Just connect the cables, power it on, and your devices can communicate through the network. So, when would you actually want one? The first reason is simple. You ran out of Ethernet ports. Maybe your router has 4 ports, but you now have a desktop computer, smart television, game console, network storage device, and another computer. Instead of replacing the router, add a switch. The second reason is cable management. This is where a switch can become surprisingly useful. Imagine your router is on one side of your house, while your entertainment center is on the other side. You could run 4 separate long Ethernet cables all the way back to the router. That can become messy very quickly. Instead, run one long Ethernet cable from the router to the entertainment area. Then connect that cable to a switch. From the switch, use short cables to connect your television, game console, computer, and other devices. One long cable, several short cables, and much less clutter. There is another interesting use for a switch, reaching areas far away from your router. Imagine you have a garage, workshop, or another room where the Wi-Fi signal is weak. You can run an Ethernet cable from your main network to that area and connect it to a switch. Now you can connect several wired devices there. And if you later add a wireless access point, the same Ethernet connection can also provide a much stronger network connection to that area. But there is an important detail here. A switch does not magically turn Ethernet into Wi-Fi. The switch provides wired network connections. If you want Wi-Fi in that remote area, you need a wireless access point or another device designed to provide Wi-Fi. Now here's something many people misunderstand. What happens to your internet speed when several devices are connected to one switch? Does adding a switch cut your speed in half? Usually, no. The switch does not simply take your internet speed and divide it equally between every device. Instead, devices communicate through the network as needed. For example, your television might be streaming a movie, your computer might be browsing the web, and your game console might be downloading an update. They can all communicate through the same switch. Of course, your total network connection still has limits. If your internet connection is 1 gigabit per second, multiple devices downloading large files at the same time can eventually compete for that available internet bandwidth. But for normal home use, adding an Ethernet switch does not suddenly make your internet slow. There is another reason switches are useful. They can help with Ethernet distance. A standard Ethernet connection is generally designed for cable runs of up to about 100 meters. But an active switch can receive a network signal and send it onward again. Think of it like a relay runner. One runner carries the message to the switch. The switch takes over, and another connection carries that message farther. This means a switch can be useful when you need to build a larger wired network across a home, office, workshop, or other property. But remember, the switch itself does not make unlimited distance possible. Every cable segment still has its own limitations. Now let's look at the actual setup. First, connect an Ethernet cable from one of your router's LAN ports to a port on the switch. Next, connect your devices to the remaining ports on the switch. Finally, connect the switch to power, Wait a few seconds, and the network should become available automatically. Most switches have small indicator lights beside the ports. These lights can tell you whether a cable is connected and whether network activity is happening. That makes troubleshooting much easier. But there's one important mistake to avoid. Don't connect cables randomly and create a network loop between the router and the switch. For a simple home setup, you generally want one network connection between the router and the switch. Then connect your devices to the switch. Simple. Now, what switch should you buy? For a typical home network, look for an unmanaged Gigabit Ethernet switch. A 5-port model is great when you only need a few extra connections. An 8-port model gives you more room to grow. And if you have many wired devices, larger models are available. Also pay attention to the switch's network speed. A gigabit switch can handle up to 1 gigabit per second on each individual Ethernet connection under suitable conditions. If you have a faster internet connection, or you regularly move large files between computers and network storage, you may want a faster multi-gigabit switch instead. But don't buy faster hardware simply because the number sounds impressive. Choose based on what your network actually needs. So, let's quickly recap. An Ethernet switch lets you expand the number of wired network ports available from your router. You connect one Ethernet cable from the router to the switch. Then connect multiple wired devices to the switch. An unmanaged switch usually requires no complicated configuration. A switch can also help organize cables by placing several devices in one location. And it can help extend a wired network to another area of your home or building. It does not magically increase your internet subscription speed, and it does not automatically create Wi-Fi. But for adding wired connections, it is one of the simplest and most useful upgrades you can make. So, if your router is running out of Ethernet ports, don't replace the whole router just yet. A small Ethernet switch might be all you need. And the best part? Once you plug it in, you can almost forget it's there. It simply gets on with the job of moving your network traffic where it needs to go.